Welcome in. It's time once again for ACC Baseball Etc, part of the D1 Baseball Podcast Network. We're glad you're here for our final preseasoning conversation. This will round out all of our interviews with ACC head coaches. I'm Daron Vaught. Bradley Smart is here, the Wonder Kid, as he's known in D1 Baseball proper circles. And we are joined today by Clemson head coach Erik Bakich, just now, a little less than 2 weeks away from opening day. And I know you guys have snow on the field. That's not a unique problem to you guys at this point. EB, welcome back. Great to see you. It does signal that the season is near. Let me start with this. Bradley and I, again, have already talked to the other ACC head coaches, right? So that's 15 conversations prior to this. And looking at your roster, you get into this rut where you feel like you're asking the same questions, right? It's preseason stuff. It's like, what do you expect out of so-and-so? Can so-and-so make a jump? How do you like your pitching staff? That sort of thing. There's a lot of newness with other teams. Whereas, Erik, looking at both your lineup where you got at least a handful of guys who are returners and I think are going to be big contributors for you there. And I don't know, like, are 90% of your innings going to be by returning pitchers too? Like, it just feels like you've got a lot more continuity than is commonplace in the game today. How much easier does that make things for you at this point in the year?
Did you call Bradley the Wonder Kid? Did you say that in the intro?
That's what I did not coin that term. That's what they're doing. You know, maybe blame Runes and Kendall. I think they're mostly responsible.
Well, he's got the best stash of all of the media personalities I've seen so far. Bradley, that's an excellent mustache there, baby. Nice job.
Thank you. It's in winter form.
Distinguished look. Good for you. Yeah, that's great. And Daron, we do not have snow on the field. We had snow for a hot second, but it is gone now. Thank God. Sun's back out. Snow is melted. We will be on the field, on the grass, on the dirt, getting after it today. We're lucky that we dodged a bullet because the entire Southeast got hit pretty hard this past weekend. So, to answer your question, we feel good about the pitching staff. I mean, it's a luxury item to have guys return who all have weekend starting experience. We did lose a couple of really veteran senior leader arms in the high leverage situations with Reed Garris and our stud closer, Lucas Malstad. So we'll have to figure out who's going to fill those roles. But, going into a season where you've got an established Friday night guy who's arguably, one of the better Friday night guys in college baseball, then, you certainly feel good about how the weekend's going to start. But we still have question marks like everybody else, and we still, need to get punched in the face a few times to figure out who we really are as a team.
Yeah, and Aiden Canucks, obviously, you said it best, like just his win percentage as a starter is frankly unmatched. When you start looking at the arms after him, you bring back a Drew Titsworth, you bring back a Talon Bell, you have Justin Legurnick. What's it sort of been like working through, figuring out what's the right role for these arms?
Yeah, I mean, if they have starting experience, you certainly would think that they would be inclined to occupy a similar role, or at least have the ability to. But we took a different approach this fall and this preseason, and we have not really ramped guys up to where we are going to overextend any of our starters. I doubt we consider a quality start when a starting pitcher can get us to the seventh inning, but I don't think that we are going to be seeing any of our starters the first, in the non-conference side of things. We're not going to be extending them like that, just because the idea that, we want these guys surging and peaking at the end in June. Staying healthy is a big part of the recipe for everybody, and so we're fortunate to have some volume and numbers and depth on the pitching staff. Like everybody, the majority of injuries happen in the preseason. 80% of soft tissue injuries happen in the preseason with this high volume spike in activity and ramp. So we're going to take it slow with a lot of guys anyways. But you're not going to see many of our pitchers get extended more than a few innings. I just don't see the value in it early. knowing that, we need them and want them to be at their best at the end.
In terms of determining roles, Erik, does that perhaps make a team also a little bit more malleable because everybody's kind of starting at the same point and you can see how they build up as the season goes on? Or is this protecting the roles that you largely have defined by now?
I mean, we know Aiden Canuck's a starter. Talon Bell and Drew Titsworth have started for us in the past, but we haven't defined anything yet. I haven't said Aiden Canuck's our Friday starter. Everyone just knows he's going to be. But it's just, we don't do roles. We don't lock in roles with our team. We do it in front of the whole team in the classroom. Like we go over the 2 deep and the 3 deep and the if-then scenarios. And we don't do that until right before the season, the week of the season, in fact. So it's be premature to, talk about any roles that have been established. I mean, I think people inside our program have a pretty good idea that Jaron Purify is going to be out there. Aiden Canuck's going to be out there. But it's been fun to watch it all come together for sure and see new personalities mesh with existing personalities. And, that's the best part of coaching is you get to develop people and you get to see a team. You get to build a team and watch a group of people, individuals from all over the place come together and form a pretty tight circle. So it's that part of it. The best teams I've been a part of, there's been trials and tribulations and adversity. And, the identity of the team was really formed throughout all that adversity and getting back up after you get knocked down. The fall and the preseason, everybody's happy because everybody plays. It's, it's an inter squad. But then, really the magic is trying to keep people engaged and trying to spread the wealth enough, but also do what you have to do from a playing time standpoint where it's fair, but it's not equal and it's a meritocracy. And so, we'll have our share of challenges coming up when we cut the playing time in half.
Yeah, and one sort of theme with a lot of the arms you sort of have back is you have a lot of guys that, dealt with injury and you mentioned adversity, but, Talon Bell, obviously a good example, wasn't really back till mid-season. Dane Moeller, Luke Kissenberth, a lot of arms that, missed time last year. What's it been like sort of building them back up and sort of what do you expect out of some of those guys that, were with you last year but didn't have huge roles?
Yeah, Dane Moeller's an interesting name because he was in line last year to be a Saturday or a Sunday starter. He had earned that role coming out of the fall and coming out of the preseason and got injured right before the week before the season started. So by the time he had surgery and then, Tommy John, it takes a good 12 months, sometimes 13. So he's kind of on the same progression Talon Bell was on last year, where we'll see his debut somewhere probably in the month of March. It'll be, with rehab guys and injury guys, it's better to start them than bring them in relief, give them the time to get activated, to do their activation and their warm up at their speed, and then a controlled 1 or 2 inning start instead of, bullpen guy, hey, go get hot in 5 minutes kind of thing. So I think we'll see. That's what we did with Talon last year. I think we'll see Dane in a very similar role and hope to build him up and build him up quick. So he's a weapon for us by the end of the year.
I want to circle back on Aiden Canuck. Look, we've watched this guy the past couple of years and marvel every time he throws. Is there anything he's added that has jumped out to you in the offseason and in the lead up to this season? How's he better now? I mean, I know Aiden Canuck, and I know he's not going to be comfortable going into a new season being the exact same player. He wants to get better. In what ways has he done that?
Yeah, so last year he added 2 pitches. He added a sinker and he added kind of a cutter slider thing. And he always had the changeup. Obviously, he had a good ride fastball, and he had the good curveball. And so the 2 pitches gave him just another totally different, unique look. So he's literally got pitches that go in different directions. And so the evolution of this year is is being able to fine tune those to really navigate a lineup. Not that he's not going to, give up a home run or get hit hard, or that all that stuff happens to even the best of the best. But he's just a true master of the craft, a true scientist out there. A guy that is thinking ahead and remembering what hitters did against him and what swings they took on what pitches. And he's probably our most low maintenance pitcher in terms of, he has his own plan and routine for his bullpens, his throwing program. And, it's just making sure that, we're giving him all the right things, resources, and he's just very advanced. He's one of the most advanced pitchers I've come across in 25 years, and came in with a very dialed in mental game routine, came in very regimented and disciplined to a consistent routine each week. And that consistency off the field and what he does with journaling and video watching, and just, it's impressive, but that fuels the consistency between the white lines when he starts.
For sure. And then, we've talked a lot about returnees. You also brought in some big name arms from the portal, whether it's, Michael Sharman from Tennessee, Hayden Simerson, an All-American at the D2 level, and then a really good freshman class. What have those sort of newcomers, for fans out there who might not know a lot about the new guys, what's that group been like?
Good. Yeah. Sharman and Simerson, come in with experience and advanced, and then the talent level of the freshman class has been really, really good. It's been impressive. That sometimes you in coaching over the years, you're like, man, that kid's just not ready. He needs another year in the oven, either physically or mentally. And we haven't said that this year with this freshman group. So doesn't mean they're all going to pitch awesome, but they just, they came in advanced physically and advanced mentally, or at least adapted to the speed of things faster than we've seen in the past. So that's been a good thing. We're going to throw a lot of freshmen out there. There's not really one guy I would say that watch this guy, but I'd say all the new pitchers, you're going to hear a lot of new names, and they're going to all be thrown in the fire, assuming they're all healthy.
I want to move into the lineup, Erik, and there are returners that I think we all like: Jacob Jarrell, Luke Gaffney. You mentioned Jaron Purify. I saw some really bright spots when I was there calling games out of Tristan McClatty. It's a group that already had some nice pieces to come back. Colin Priest, I didn't mention either. And then you add a guy like Ty Daly from Mercer, who is the active career home runs leader in college baseball with 58 in 3 years. Tyler Lichtenberger, I saw being in the state of North Carolina. I saw some at App State last year. Walk us through like the biggest transfer pieces in the lineup and how you expect them to contribute.
Yeah, we mostly build our program with high school kids. So we have a 40-man roster. 30 of them are high school players that we've recruited and had here, and then 10 of them are transfers. And the transfers we want to think of as more of, especially on the position player side, more hole fillers, more gap pluggers when we think we're going to lose a premium position and, don't want to rely on a freshman, or it might be just too big we lose a freshman in the draft like we did with Dax Norris. Then we got to replace that with a portal guy, and we thought we were losing Jacob Jarrell to the draft. He's 15 home runs as a catcher last year as a junior. We were all but convinced that he was going to get selected, so we signed Nate Savoy. And then Bryce Clavon has the ability to play infield and outfield. He's an athlete that, big time football player, baseball player out of high school, and so. Obviously we had some losses in the outfield, not just with Canarella, but a couple of transfers as well. And so that opened a spot for, McClatty being able to tossle back and forth there, but also Clavon. And then Ty Daly, he's not an up the middle defender. He's more of a profiles as a corner outfielder. But like you said, Daron, a middle order bat with proven power. that just brings some thump, especially left-handed thump, to a lineup. So, yeah, I mean, the portal guys, all the guys we just talked about will be, will contribute, and we'll have a chance to make an impact. And yeah, we've got more than 9 hitters that need to play. So it's and we thought the same thing going into last year, and then we had a bunch of injuries, and we needed all 14 of those guys, it turned out. And we got 12, 13 again this year that we're going to have to get cycled through the lineup early on to see what they can do. And they have all earned and deserve an opportunity to get ABs. So, no one's been anointed, even though some of them come in with pretty big time stats and credentials. But I think you can look at some of their production over the last year and what they did at other schools. And, would like to see what they can do in the ACC.
Yeah, and one returning from the fall, one storyline that you kind of opened the curtain a bit to show a discussion with Luke Gaffney. Breaking down, here's what you've improved, here's your benchmarks and everything. I'm hoping you can kind of talk about Luke Gaffney as you highlighted him in our fall report as the most improved player year over year, and then sort of be the Maven Baseball Lab and sort of what you guys did this fall in terms of, tracking player development at such a granular level.
Yeah. So Luke Gaffney's a transfer from Purdue. So he's a really smart kid, engineering kid. He's had a 4.0 at Clemson from the jump. It's in year 2 for him. So last year, probably a disappointing year in his eyes in terms of meeting expectations. It's obviously a different level. But he's a really smart kid to the point of, an engineering student at Purdue. And so he knew he needed to make some swing adjustments. We had verbaled to him that, hey man, your swing plane is steep and you're attacking low pitches, and that's not conducive. Swinging down at down pitches isn't conducive for slug. And he knew it, and he took it upon himself to go to Driveline over the summer instead of playing summer baseball, and made some nice adjustments and working with our staff, working with them, and just really was able to harness all that power in his body and from the ground, match swing plane to pitch plane, make better plate decisions. And so our KPIs that we use for offense are swing decisions, quality contact, consistent contact, and then there's a bunch of metrics and stats that go underneath each one of those. But having a tool like Maven Lab in our facility where we can see the things that our eyeballs can't see, right? Like, how the body is moving explosively, but we're seeing it in a skeletal 3D model that's giving us some of the brains of Maven with Tyler Krieger, former Clemson baseball player, who's a co-founder of Maven. And they've just really figured some things out of being able to benchmark against what the best in baseball do. And then everyone who tests on Maven can compare against what the elite hitters can do. And then we, with our sports science folks and our strength and conditioning staff and our coaches, we put a plan together that helps these guys find their best swing and make the best swing decisions and, be able to consistently hit the ball as hard as possible. And so for a guy like Gaffney, it all started with just swinging at better pitches, and for young kids out there, it's, they do all this training in a facility, and all they work on is their swing, but that's not hitting. Part of hitting, you got to be on time. You got to swing at the right pitches. Like there's so much more that goes into being able to hit for power in a real game. With all these facilities, there's no scoreboard. There's no, you're just working on your swing. And it's just like pitchers who just work on throwing and not pitching. And then they get in a game and they have no command and they can't hold runners, can't field their position. Like, the hell are we talking about? Like you got to be able to play and be a winning player. And so, having all the resources that we have that reinforce not only individual player development of working on your metrics that deal with swinging and throwing, but also hitting and pitching and tying it together to be a winning player on the field. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Other than Luke, Coach, who have been some of the other players to kind of embrace that? And you guys are analyzing that stuff with all your players, I'm sure, but as with anything, some of them are going to be like way nerdier about it than others.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Cannarella, it was more like, hey, man, take the little end and knock the shit out of the ball with the big end. And he could do that. And then Gaffney, we're talking about, 4-syllable words and things like that. But yeah, you got to know the kid. But I think as coaches, where our superpower and our niche is development, and we understand this so well that we can explain it in simple terms. And we talk about it as our staff. And if you can't explain it to our kids, like that are, the young kids of our coaches that are, we got 14 kids amongst our staff that are ages 16 to like 2. And so it's like, we got to be able to explain it to them. And if they don't understand it, then we clearly don't know it as well as we think we know it. So that's, I think, where the best coaches exist, is the ones who aren't married to one system. They know how to unlock different players in different ways, but they can speak in simple terms. Everybody seems to be really good at memorizing the 4-syllable biomechanical terms right now, but for the guys who actually step in the box, that stuff doesn't really help them. So I think that's one thing that separates our staff. A lot of people have fancy tech. Not everybody actually knows how to use it. They just talk about it in recruiting. We actually use it. And so for our players, yeah, the dialogue might be different with Gaffney and other guys, but this is part of our deal. We do these assessments every 6 weeks. So it's our individual player development plans get updated every 6 weeks. So we did one you saw on the Instagram post in the end of the fall, and then we did it again here in the preseason. We're going to do it again midseason, then we're going to do it again going into the postseason. It's just what we do. So I think for our players, knowing the cadence of it, they get comfortable in that environment because it's a consistent environment.
Yeah, that contrast that you started that response with, I'm going to transition, or I'm going to try to, from something very, very intricate and brainy to something pretty goofy. Okay, so I'm thinking of like the Clemson baseball player archetypes over the past handful of years, maybe, right? And Cannarella's one who, the second you saw him play, it's tough to imagine he didn't just immediately become your favorite player in the league, right? I think Dom Listy last year was similar. There was a grit, an edge to those guys, whereas you do have the Luke Gaffneys, Lucas Malstead, kind of a brainiac, as you mentioned before. Who is sort of in contention for that new role is like the edge grit guy that is going to become a Clemson baseball fan's favorite hitter?
Well, I think, the stage is set for Jaron Purify to, kind of be the face of the offense. He's, the leading candidate to hit leadoff and kind of make this offense go. He plays with a ton of passion. He's really stepped up from a leadership standpoint. So there's a few candidates that fit your description, but I think he's a guy that, as a returning captain and as a just kind of a big personality on the field, that would be the place to start.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Bradley, you can get us back to something a little more intelligent.
Yeah, I'd live for the weeds of stuff. The one thing I wanted to ask, Jacob Jarrell, you mentioned it earlier, catcher hitting, 15 home runs, not drafted. Is there sort of what's sort of the general feedback around what part of a game does he sort of need to maybe improve on? I mean, it's hard to look at a catcher that plays as well as he does on both sides and say, oh, there's, not draft interest there. But what's sort of the big thing for him going into this spring where he's like, I got to, really make my name or improve in an area?
First off, I don't think he needs to worry about what other people think. I think he just needs to do his thing and it's good enough, and just trust that. Secondly, I give this speech to high school kids at our camps, trying to explain the recruiting process. And I actually heard it from Scout, named Mike Gibbons, New York Yankee scout up in Michigan, when he spoke to our team at Scout Day, and I thought it was perfect. And he said, let me relate something to you guys. When you first got into girls and you started to like girls, and you and your buddy are walking down the hallway at school, and your buddy says to you, man, look at her. She is hot. Man, I love her hair. I love her smile. She's got beautiful eyes. Wow. And you look at your buddy and you go, nah, not for me. Right? That's scouting. That's recruiting. Right? What looks good to somebody may not look good to another. It's a human bias. And so a lot of times you may think, man, catcher with 15 jacks, like no brainer, but maybe they weren't taking catchers. Maybe they, had other catchers stuffed up higher on the board. I don't know. I know that a catcher hitting 15 jacks in the ACC is really good, and especially a guy who's as tough and hardworking as JJ. But that's the analogy. It's when human beings are bringing in their own personal bias of what they're looking for, and it's uncontrollable and unpredictable. So you certainly can't worry about or think about what other people are thinking.
That's a fantastic analogy. Thank you for sharing that.
That might be my next Instagram post, is to let all the kids know out there. This isn't an exact science, this recruiting thing.
Yeah. Sure. That's good. Really good stuff. Erik, as we begin to wrap up here, what else about this season excites you in particular? Again, I think we all recognize that the potential is there for it to be a big year for the Tigers. What else jumps out that maybe we haven't covered?
Yeah, I mean, so I think as a coach, when you've experienced the mountaintop, and, in 2019, we played for a national championship. We were, one game away. The feeling that you get from that is instantly addicting, and you're addicted to it. You think about it, you thrive on it. And it's just the pursuit and the chase of getting back to the mountaintop and becoming the last team standing is what fuels you. And so then you got to, you can't focus on the outcome, otherwise that you're not going to get it. So it's just trying to put the plan in place to get them to be focused on what do they need to do today in order to better prepare them to achieve that outcome at the end. And so it's that constant chase, constant quest, constant journey to be the best. And so that's the thing that always excites me. And I love seeing the Indiana football team hoist that trophy this year, because it showed it wasn't about the 5 stars and it wasn't about money. It was about building the best team with the best teammates. And I thought that was a really good example for everybody to take a lesson from, that team building is still really, really important.
Yeah, no doubt. With that in mind, I've seen you quoted in the fall and in the preseason here as to you're not mentioning Omaha as an ultimate goal as much with this team, right? Whereas maybe before it was, and we see this across college baseball, right? Teams in their warm-up shirts have it written across the chest and that sort of thing. But just given the nature of the postseason exits for you guys the last few years, I thought it was interesting that you've kind of changed your approach. I mean, other than simply eliminating maybe that one word from the language, are you talking to the teams differently in that way?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really talk about it that much. I mean, I'm sure a lot of teams would love to have hosted regionals the last 3 years and win 44 or 45 games. And each year the first 2 years we took a step. And so, and then last year we won 45 games, host a regional, and it felt just like a massive disappointment because we had nothing to hang our hat on for the season. We had, we didn't accomplish anything of significance. We didn't win the ACC, didn't win the ACC tournament, didn't win a regional. So it was just one of those feelings that we regressed a little bit. So it's just time to put up or shut up. And it's not just because we felt like we took a step back last year. It's more of, the longer, drought that Clemson has experienced of, a program like Clemson shouldn't go, 15 years of not going to the World Series, just shouldn't. And so it's more of let's just shut up about it. And, let's just control the things we can control, which is our preparation, and, try to execute at the highest level, hope to stay healthy, and we'll see what happens. I mean, there's so much more that goes into it other than the plan and the preparation and and the execution. There's a luck factor. It's it's the postseason matchups. It's everything that goes into it. I go back to the 2019. Like, I don't know if Oregon State doesn't get eliminated, go 0-2 in their own home regional. We never had to play Oregon State, and that's one of the toughest environments to play in. But we were playing, Creighton a few times in front of 8 people, so it was, and then we played our absolute ass off at UCLA at their place. And that was a historically unbelievable team. And we just got hot. I mean, so it just, but we also got lucky that we didn't have to play Oregon State at the Oregon State Regional. So there's so much more that goes into it than just, who's on your team.
Yeah, no, it's good perspective. I know you understand in our roles, we do kind of have to talk about it to the degree that we can shut up about it. I promise we will as we look to begin this season and hopefully see the Tigers experience all kinds of success.
That's right. Yeah, it's fun to make the predictions and do the prognostications, but yeah, we all know the only thing that matters is at the end. And so you guys just do the things you do that, hopefully be on the right track and take care of getting better today and stack all those days, and you'd be in a good spot. But no, I love the coverage, love what you guys do. And it's certainly fun to read and talk about, and listen to, but yeah, we're just going to put our head down and work.
I love it. We'll try to do the same, EB. Appreciate the time as always. Good luck this coming year as we get started here in just a couple of weeks, and we'll see you here soon.
All right, Daron, thank you. Bradley, keep that stash. I'll see you guys soon.